guess I'm the boss today, huh?
You're the boss today.
Well, here we are for knife making week
32 maybe. Maybe 33. I don't know. Yeah.
Either way, I'm Erik.
I'm John.
And we are John Grimsmo Knives.
Yo. Apologize for not posting a video last week. Blade Show was crazy. We needed to decompress.
Yeah. And our mom came.
Yeah, our mom was here for the past week visiting, so that was really nice. Yeah, it took a while to get back into the swing of things.
It really did.
But we're back now, so more videos. So, boss, what is on the agenda for today?
Today we are working on Norsemans again, mainly the blades. As a lot of you saw at Blade Show, we had 2 knives there, and one of them was the honeycomb pattern, but it didn't have a detent ball and the lockup wasn't quite right. So we're going to work on that today and try to get that one all perfect so we can learn and know what to do for all the rest of them.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I got the second camera. So, this is the honeycomb one. Yeah, I realized after all that Blade Show footage that we don't actually have any close-ups of these. Just like you've never seen them. Except for everybody who came to Blade Show, so.
Who are awesome, by the way.
Yeah. Man, the response from the show has been amazing.
Yeah.
I've been on my email glued to it non-stop. It's crazy. So this is the honeycomb one. We decided to go with bronze thumb stud and bronze back spacers, but it doesn't really pop enough. I like the blue ones that we did. So where's the other one? Just lay it down beside. Here's the bronze diamond pattern one with the blue thumb stud and spacer. Yeah. You film.
Yoink.
Okay. So for the show, we got this one. Got it to work, detent, got it to lock up. It's even sharp now. Sharpened on the wicked edge. But this one we didn't have time to finish the detent, so it just kind of flops around. It does lock up, but it's very, very early. You can see that. So while we're practicing our methods for making the knife lock up, on the diamond one, it locks up too far, and on the honeycomb one, it locks up too early, which is okay, we can fix too early. But we're just fine-tuning a little sweet spot between too early and too far. I think ideally we're looking for like 10 to 20% lockup. But the one with the detent, I mean, flips great, locks up great, a little bit too far, but it's not going all the way over. Yeah, both the knives turned out pretty cool so far. So today's job is, as you already said, but say it again.
Yeah, so what we already said, fix the lockup. Just get that going a little bit further in. And then drill the detent hole so that it'll actually pop out.
Oh, and the stop position.
Oh, yes.
That was another little mistake. All the blades currently sit like that, which is unacceptable, of course. Except for this one, I tried to fix it, but I went too far. So it goes down farther than I want it to. So yeah, we just have to tweak a little location thingy. I'll get that to go just under the surface. Time to get to work. Alright. What's going on?
Not much, just taking apart the honeycomb Norseman so we can get to work on it.
Awesome. One thing I noticed taking it apart is that the stop pin is pressed in there so perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Hard to get apart, eh?
A little bit.
Like, you just gotta pry it pretty much from the pivot area. There it goes.
Come on, washer. So there it is.
I think we're gonna have to take the thumb stud off.
Yeah, right. Uh-oh.
Ah.
Got it. That's all there is to a Norseman.
Easy enough.
Yeah. No loose IKBS.
Yeah.
Very easy to work on.
Okay, so blade first. Let's get it mounted up on the machine.
Is this one of the offset ones?
I don't know.
No.
The early ones.
Seems okay. So how are we doing this?
Remember a dowel pin through the pivot, and then you got the stopper pin there. Or use this kind.
Are we using this clamp?
Probably. Yeah, I think so. But yeah, this goes through here. And that locates it onto the fixture, and then you can see Eric's got a dowel pin at the top there, so that the blade can rotate and stop against the pin every time. It should be pretty repeatable. And then our little clampy thingies. This size?
Yep.
Bling. Alright, so what we're doing is, see this internal stop pin groove? This side is what controls how far the blade goes down when it's closed, and the location is just a little bit off. So we're just going to plunge an end mill into that radius right there, plunge it through, and take away a little bit more material so that the blade sits down even a little bit lower. So, as we say a lot of times, cross your fingers and hit it.
It's the right code.
Yes.
No coolant?
No coolant. Looks good so far. Now we're going to take it out, test fit. Once we find the right offset that works, we can use the same one for every blade from here on out, but we're still in the testing phase.
Put the whole thing kind of together?
You can test it like that.
That actually looks about perfect.
Yeah. Nice. Show the camera. So I can see. That does look about perfect. I like your b-boy rap.
It's just not family friendly.
Ah. What band is that?
Mickey Avalon.
Nice. I don't know any music. That's what Eric's here for. He's DJ Scribbles. Hard to say. Maybe we should put it together properly and just see how far it ends up.
Making this harder on myself than it should be.
Really, fool.
Shampoo is better.
First person to call that quote is awesome. We should do like prizes for recognizing movie quotes. That'd be fun.
Let's do it. Could just do like gets 50% off next order of handles.
Could be. Could be.
Or 10% off Norseman.
I wasn't gonna say it, but.
Hey guys, so in previous videos I have teased you with a few little close-ups of my pocket clip. Very sexy, sleek design, if I may say so. 3D machined on the back from a solid piece of 1/8 inch titanium. Anyway, I wanted to show you what it looks like on the knife and on my pocket. So I'm just rocking a pair of jeans today, and that's what it looks like. Oh, it's under the strap there. But yeah, two bronze colors match perfectly. It's got a nice curve to it, so it sticks this end of the knife like towards the back edge of your pocket. The radius here, you know, is very comfortable for the hands going in the pocket. Some knives are very rough and annoying. Like for example, I got my paramilitary here currently set up for tip down. If I put that in here, like so, all this jimping just rips up your hand. It's not so bad on this knife, but other knives are worse. And this one, if it was tipped down, it would be similar, I guess, but not so bad. Yeah. The gap here seems to be good for all the pants that I own. Jeans, shorts. Nothing's been too thick. Cargo pants even. It's definitely thinner than the paramilitary. If you can see the difference, you know what I'm talking about, right? The gap where your pocket goes, basically. It's thinner than the Spyderco one, but it seems to be just fine. It doesn't get stuck or anything like that. So, but yeah, what do you think? I think it looks awesome. Especially a dark color on dark jeans, just looks nice. It's not so shiny and blingy like, you know, like a Spyderco one. Love it. I'm looking forward to trying it tip down, but I haven't domed the pivot pin yet, so the clip actually won't fit in this location because the pivot pin is in the way. But once I shorten that off and dome it down, make it a lot shorter, then I can properly test tip down. I think it might be faster to draw the knife. Just draw it out. Because a large knife, and this is the case with any larger knife, I mean this is almost 9 inches open. You know, I grab it, I can't reach the flipper. I can barely reach it if I stretch. So you got to reposition the hand. You know, you pull it out, and then you got to reposition. Yeah, I can barely reach it. Okay, takes a little bit of practice, I guess. But if you just pull it out, you know, from the top, then you totally can't reach it. So it's just one of those little practice things. And if you'll notice, I got a washer here. I was just testing something out. I thought my pivot was too long, and the screw was actually bottoming out, but it's not the case. I just haven't put it back yet. So yeah, let's make some stuff. Okay, I got a little bit more explaining to do, and then we'll make some stuff. This is the other Norseman we got together, Erik's gold honeycomb one. As I showed before, we were remachining some parts of the stop pin groove in the air compressor and the pivot hole, and trying to get the tip to sit lower. This was the first test that I did. as you can see, almost perfect. It's right there. Needs to go lower than that. If that was sharp, I'd be able to cut myself like this. So one more change and then it'll sit lower. However, on this one, I bent the bar out of the way just to not have any drag. I wanted to see how it floated. Beautiful. Absolutely zero blade play. That's how ball bearings should be. Now when it can do that with a detent ball, putting pressure on it, you know, a lock bar, then you're doing good. Alright, here's one of the blades back from heat treat. It's been roughly machined. A lot of it is finished already, but there's still some work that has to be done on it. Obviously the grind needs to be redone. Now I sort of backed myself into a corner on these blades and did something wrong that I will change next time for sure. The stop pin groove, it's an internal stop pin groove. It was fully machined to size when the blade was still soft, and I drilled and reamed the pivot hole undersized to about 0.177 inch. Finished size is going to be 187, so 10 thousandths bigger. Now the corner that I backed myself into was I should not have fully machined the stop pin groove. I should have done that hard as well as the pivot hole, because right now the pivot hole is undersized. I have no way of lining it up onto my fixture accurately except for by eyeball. This is a finished blade with a 1875 hole that I can put a pivot pin through and line that up onto my machine like that, and that works just fine. But until I drill out that hole, it's guesswork, which is not cool. And if I drill that hole, if I ream that hole wrong, you know, a solid carbide reamer doesn't really flex that much. It's probably going to make a hole slightly off from where it's supposed to be. And if that hole is off from where the arc is, then it's not going to work right. The stop pin's probably going to bind and cause nastiness. So what I've figured out to do through a YouTube subscriber and now customer, he ordered 2 of these, he suggested I check out a website called lakeshorecarbide.com. If you're into machining, check them out. They have great price on end mills, but they have what's called a pre-ream end mill. This might look like a 3/16 end mill, but it's not. It's a little bit undersized. It's 0.181 inch, not 1875. So it's 6 thousandths smaller, which means I can eyeball this hole onto the fixture and clamp it down properly, and basically plunge a new hole, undersized, wherever the machine thinks it's supposed to be, not where it was before. So it's basically plunging a brand new hole, and then I can use my solid carbide reamer and ream it out. And while it's still fixtured in, I'm going to remachine this arc so that if it needs to take off material in new places, it can do that, and will hopefully make the relationship between the hole and the arc the same. And also remember how I said the tip isn't sitting low enough. Remachining this arc will fix that. So between the pre-ream end mill and all that stuff, it should work good, and it does work good, because that's what I did for this one. And the stop pin is very positive in the open and closed positions. It just needs to sit a little bit lower, so be changing that. Is that boring enough for you? Let's machine some blades.
blue chips. Those are very nicely blue. Cool. They're like gold and blue. Blue is good. It means it's hot enough. Notice I'm not using coolant for this, just so I can see what's going on pretty much, but it's cutting so little material, even though it is 60 Rockwell, that I don't know if it needs coolant. Surface finish looks epic. Okay. That top, this clamp can come off, and I'm gonna write a new little code to do the thingy.
The thingy?
Okay, if you can see, I have a small hole right in front of my finger and right in front of my finger. That coincides perfectly with the stop pin groove. Those holes have been there all along, but they've always been undersized, and I just never got around to reaming them. Like you can see, these two are smaller. I never got around to reaming them to the right size. I finally just did that, and lo and behold, if I take a 5/32 stop pin, dowel pin, slips right into the hole like that. This basically helps me line up the blade with the old hole, just like that, and against this this dowel pin right there. That's about as accurate as I could hope for the pivot pin to be lined up. So I like that method. I'm going to start doing it like that. It's very easy, very repeatable. They're all the same, so I like that. And then I'm still going to use the pre-ream end mill, which we're going to do right now. So I'm going to cut it dry. Doesn't really need any lube, and it's just taking away very little material. Yeah, you can see a few new chips, but nothing major. And that little step that we just went through is re-zeroing the machine just so it's always accurate. Next is tool 11. From the pre-ream end mill to the solid carbide reamer. I like it. Yeah, I like that method a lot. So I think I mentioned it before, but this tool is a solid carbide reamer, and the carbide doesn't like to flex that much, whereas, for example, this is a high-speed steel reamer. And they're very long on purpose so that they can bend and find their way into the right hole. Because a reamer's job is to make the hole perfectly round, not to locate the hole. You know, so it's going to find its own way into the hole even if it's off center from where it thinks it is. But whereas a solid carbide reamer doesn't really flex that much. And if, say, the hole is here and it's trying to go just off to the center, it might actually punch a new hole off to the center a little bit. Hence the point of the pre-ream end mill. I just really like doing it that way for this particular setup.
since I've got a pre-existing hole, putting it back on the fixture. I'm rambling. What else? Okay, next thing we got to do is the bearing pockets where the ball bearing rides. It's been roughed out a little bit, but it needs to go deeper. And doing it while the blade is hard makes an incredibly much better surface finish. So let's see, 12 goes there. I'm looking for tool 13. Keep that in my hand. Open up the next piece of code. Okay. Ta-da. Make sure I don't pinch myself. Yep. Okay. Put that back in there. Quick side note. Here's all my tools lined up. We've started lining them up in order. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 12, whatever. Before we used to pull out whatever tools we needed for the certain job and line them up. It's so much easier just to have them all in order right here. Oh, tool 21, right there. Give you a handheld close-up here. Nice blue chips. I like blue chips. Pretty good surface finish on that. Really flat, really shiny. You can see some of the machining marks near the bottom of the hole there. That's just where it leaded out. I don't know how you say it. But yeah, compared to before, you can see all those micro divots. When the metal's soft, it's just softer. It doesn't machine so smoothly. Whereas with the new one, although you can see the machining marks, they don't look as deep. Does that make sense? It's just way smoother. Compared to before, you can actually see some vertical or some deep scratches. Anyway, I like this way. This way is good. The last thing I have to do, or the next thing I have to do, is remove this top clamp, and then I want to remachine the groove, the stop-in groove, because remember the blade doesn't sit low enough, so I got to machine that part. And just in case, I'm going to machine everything else so that it's exactly lined up with where the new hole is. To do that, I need tool 18. Need to open up new code. And we're good to go. I can hear it machining a little bit there, which is good. Excellent. So now I have pretty good faith that everything here is going to work. And actually I can now remove it from the fixture since all the important work is done in one setup. Remove it from the fixture, test fit it on the knife, and I can throw it back on later to machine the edge grind, engrave the logo, and flip it over and do the same thing on the other side. Before I go ahead and test fit it on the knife, this pocket that we just machined is deeper. The other side is still shallow. So I'm going to machine that side just by itself so that when I put it on the knife, it's even and lined up and everything's centered and it's going to look the way it's supposed to look. So I just got to flip it over. Now when it's flipped over, I can use this guy. Except it won't go through because there's a little bit of a burr there. Not a big deal. All I got to do is take a carbide spot drill and just ever so lightly rotate like that. And bazinga. Just like so. Clamp it down, put a clampy thingy here, put a clampy thingy here. As I've mentioned many times before, when machining these bearing pockets, I want them to be flat as humanly possible. So I'm bolting it down from both sides of that pocket. I want to do everything I can to make sure that both sides of that bearing pocket are absolutely parallel to each other. Because otherwise the knife will have a bit of a binding spot halfway through, and I've noticed that in the past. Like, it'll be loose here, but then up here it'll bind a little bit because the bearing walls are not parallel. They wave. I'm sure that makes sense. So just go like that. Make sure to pull that thing out. And then back to the other tool. And you don't need to see this. Okay, here's the blade. Moves pretty good. Closed position is acceptable, but could be a little bit lower. See what I'm saying? But I can't catch my finger on it, so that's good. But yeah, it could be lower. So I will tweak the code once again. But it's got a very positive closed position. I mean, if I squeeze it, it feels very positive. It's not squishy, it doesn't flex that much. I mean, that's just the blade itself, sort of everything settling in. I've put together other ones, you know, with worse techniques that you squish it and it kind of moves a lot. It feels quite squishy. But this is very positive. I like that. Same for the open position. That means it's not really going to wear out over time. It's not going to move position, change, whatever. What else? The other thing, I've got it adjusted so that there's no blade play. It's still a little bit sticky. See how it's not free falling. It like falls and then stops. And the solution for that is this little invention. It's called a barrel lap. And it's got a brass fluted thingy, I don't know what it's called, with an adjusting screw at the end, so that you can tighten the screw and these four separate pieces expand. And you put a diamond lapping compound on here, and it basically micro polishes the inside of the blade, the pivot area, and that just makes it uber smooth. And I haven't done that to this blade yet, and that will, in my estimation, clear up that stickiness. Now I guess I get to try to make it detent properly. Not try. Practice until I succeed. How's that? Little thing. I've got so many blades that all look exactly alike, and I do little changes, little tests on every one, and then I get a pile of them. I can't remember where they're at. So I'm just starting to Sharpie remachine stop pin. It's little notes to myself so I don't forget where I'm at. Also, I don't know if you noticed, but I got that washer still in here. It turns out that this particular pivot pin is too long. You can see the stainless steel pivot pin, how it's real close with the bottom of that where the screw head goes. And once everything's tightened together, it bottoms out. So as tight as I make the screw, the blade still got a little bit of play. So all I have to do is, for this particular knife, make the stop pin a little bit shorter. Yeah, I'm making it so tight that the other end's actually spinning. And although it spins, rotates very well. Yeah, it's got a little bit of blade play. And when I measure blade play, I mean, I put some force into it. I don't just go, ugh. I want to feel if I can notice anything. And on this I can, so not cool. Boy, does it spin nice though when it's a little loose. Next up is to make the detent hole in the blade, which is going to go right about here somewhere. So using a 1/16 ball mill, it's going to come down and plunge it. Now the way I have it set up, all the handles already have the detent ball in place, which is not the best way to do it, but that's the way I did it. Which means I have to vary the location of the hole in order to get the knife to have a good detent action. So I wrote a code that basically drills 10 holes with a pause in between each one. First one's here, I can pause, remove it, and test fit, and then I can set it back, drill another hole, another hole, another hole, another hole. I forget what the offset is. I think they're like 0.4 of an inch apart or something like that. No, 0.4 of a degree apart. I don't know, it's a very small range. So I just keep running it until I put it together and the knife fits great. And I'll have to do that for every blade. Wonderful. That's surprising. I'm sure coolant would have been nice, but for clarity's sake, I didn't want to. That end mill was brand new, like literally brand new. Suck. I've done this before and it works great. Maybe instead of using a ball mill, I'll use a flat end mill. Might make a difference. Might be a little bit stronger, I don't know. Alright, so I tried it again with the flat end mill, and it seemed to work just fine. I actually did, instead of going all the way down in one step, I went down halfway, retraction, down all the way. And I also gave it a quick air blast while I was machining, and that seemed to work fine. Flood coolant would probably do the same thing, but very nice square hole. I like it. Now let's test fit it on the knife. So what's going on here, for those of you who might not know what the inside of this knife looks like, this is your lock bar. It basically bends over and gets in the way of the blade closing, so it keeps it nice and open. That's the detent ball I keep talking about in front of my thumbnail there. 1/16 steel ball. And that ball drops into this hole to keep the knife closed. And using my mock assembly here, it actually, if you listen, you can hear the ball being sucked into that hole. And upon mock assembly, it seems about perfect, but I know that once I bolt everything together, things tighten up and change a little bit from this position, so I'm going to do that now. Hi, me again. So the first hole that I drilled was actually the farthest one away, and I was hoping to tighten my way in closer to where it needs to be. And that very first hole is perfect. which kind of worries me a little bit. But all I have to do next time is go even farther to start out with and then work my way in a little bit. But it's pretty awesome. It's heavier than I want it to be, like the finger pressure. It takes a lot of pressure, but does it ever fly out with authority? And it doesn't lock up yet because I haven't done that for this blade. But it's nearly perfectly centered, and it flips out like a banshee. Notice I said it's heavier, meaning it takes more finger pressure than I want it to. And that's because the hole is actually farther than it needs to be. If it was, say, maybe half a degree the other direction, it wouldn't be as difficult to do. However, not bad. Getting there. Really, really getting there. Eric's going to like seeing this. Anyways, folks. Boom. That's it for Knifemaking Tuesday this week. Stay tuned for next week. As always, thank you so much for subscribing. I am like 6 subscribers away from 2,000 subscribers. This is nuts. I was at 50 when I started. 9 months to a year ago? I don't know. Thank you. Really. Next week, I don't know. We got to get these things out the door. So just more finishing work, more tweaking little detail stuff, and then just run through all the blades. Hand fit every knife so that locks up and detents perfect and flips out like a crazy person. Yeah, that's it. Thanks, guys. Cheers. Bye. Okay, one quick addendum. I said it was too heavy, too hard to move, and it's because I had my lock bar pre-tension too hard. That's the amount that I pre-bent the lock bar over, so the spring pressure basically. And all I did to fix that was move it out far to bend it out and give it less pressure, and now it's much easier. Lame. But yeah, so tweaking the pressure of that will totally get me in the ballpark that I want, and this this whole location is actually spot on. Score. Bye bye.